Okay, last session, we talked about the historical context, getting the sense of where the book fits into the scriptures and who the author is and the historical context of the recipients and the author themselves and all that stuff. What I want to do this time is I want to look at the literary context of the passage that you're reading. Here's what literary context means. The literary context means that words only have meaning in sentences and in relation to preceding and succeeding sentences. So we know this in communication. If you were to take a conversation out of context and you pull just one sentence out of it, it doesn't make sense. It only makes sense when you see it in its broader context. And we know this even in journalism. Good journalists are always bringing things in context. You just take one phrase out of a statement. Well, of course you can make it mean what you want it to mean. This is what we don't want to do when we come to the scriptures. And so literary context is important. Here is another way to understand this. The literary context includes the words, sentences, and paragraphs preceding and following a passage. The literary context locates a passage within a larger purpose of the book. That's a definition from Daniel Doriani. So an example would be Acts chapter 1, verse 8. In the book of Acts, this is the thesis statement for its book. We preached through this book a few months ago, and we kept going back to this thesis statement. In Acts chapter 1, verse 8, it says this, but you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea and Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. And that literally is the flow of the book of Acts. It's a table of contents for the book of Acts. And this is really helpful in understanding the rest of the book. So why is this important? It's important because meaning is found in context. So when you think of the word table, is it a piece of furniture, a chart in a document, level of groundwater, or is it a verb, right? The context matters. The word stop. If you're in an antique shop and you see a sign that says stop, you react differently than when you're on the road, right? That's context. And this is the amazing opportunity that we have in reading the scriptures well. And being a good exegeter is doing this work. So at the end, you want to be doing two things. You want to say in a compact way, you want to state the content of each paragraph that you are reading in the scriptures. What does the Bible writer say in this paragraph? One sentence. Here's what he's saying. Explain very shortly why you think the writer says this at this point. How does the content contribute to its argument or its flow? Then you want to be able to maybe zoom out and say, well, what theological principle is in the passage in front of me? What you're trying to do is you're trying to create similarities between their world and ours. Well, they seem to be very afraid. Man, we're living in a pandemic. We're very afraid. So when you do the work of exegesis, the literary context, you then are trying to look for, well, what are some similarities? The kind of theological phrase is, what is the fallen condition focus that they were experiencing and that we experience as well? What is the principle? Is it fear? Is it joy? Is it hope? Is it betrayal? What is the human experience of the text, and how can us, removed from the text, 2,000 years, experience the same realities that they are? So create similarities between their world and ours. That's a way that you are bridging the river. What is the felt need or occurrence of their experience? Is there a command to obey, a promise to hold on to, an example to follow or not? What is the link from their world to ours? And this is a great work that you're invited to do. And as you do this work, historical context, literary context, the text starts to become alive and applicable as you say, as they have learned, as they were spoken to, so am I today. So pick a passage in the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John, and do this right now. Historical context, literary context, and bring that text into your today. Enjoy.